My name is Jeremy Lachlan, and this podcast is brought to you by my company, Momentum Worldwide Movers. We focus on providing tailor-made solutions to match the needs and specific requirements of each customer, since every move is unique. Henry Moreland Seals is a dynamic entrepreneur and cultural ambassador based in Japan. With a rich background in international business and cross-cultural communication, Henry has dedicated his career to bridging the gap between Eastern and Western markets. His passion for fostering global connections began during his academic journey, which included studying both in the United States and Japan. This unique perspective allows him to seamlessly navigate diverse business landscapes, forging valuable partnerships and cultivating innovative ideas that resonate across cultures. In addition to his entrepreneurial endeavors, Henry is an avid advocate for sustainability and community engagement. He serves on several boards focused on environmental initiatives and social responsibility, using his platform to raise awareness about the importance of sustainable practices in both business and everyday life. His commitment to making a positive impact has earned him recognition in various international forums, where he shares insights on integrating sustainable methods into traditional Japanese business models. Henry has been a global HR executive throughout his career, having been the vice president of HR for Japan Unicorn Payday, AI startup Audify, and is now the global head of HR for Owndays, an eyewear brand based in Japan that is part of the LensCraft family with hundreds of shops throughout Southeast Asia. All right, Henry.
Hey, brother, man. How are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
Good.
Thank you so much for coming on today.
I'm really excited. I love talking to you.
Okay. This is the first podcast of the year.
Oh, well, I'm special. I feel special.
You are special.
Thanks, man.
So we're getting the year off to a great start.
Okay, and hopefully it'll be useful to people listening.
I'm sure it will be.
Okay, cool.
So what I find fascinating is how people originally get interested in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
Like the very first encounter
with
Japan.
That's right.
Now, you're from West Virginia, right?
Yes, I am.
Okay. And I'm from Pittsburgh,
Mm-hmm.
which is basically the same part of the country.
Yeah, very far from Japan. Yeah.
Very, very far.
Mhm.
And, we don't have like izakaya, and you don't have Kato-san down the street, where
Right.
places like Seattle, maybe the West Coast,
Mhm.
maybe parts of New York, or
Right.
maybe even Boston.
Maybe
You have
not
a
where
little
we're
bit,
from.
You have a little bit of a Japanese community,
Yeah,
but where we're from, it's,
nothing. Mhm.
So like I was very young when I got
Mhm.
into Japan.
Right.
Can you tell me about your first
Well, my first
interest?
my first interest, I guess, I used to be. I still am. I tell myself I am an artist. I like drawing and painting, and I was really into um, like classic cartoons like Mickey Mouse, Bugs Bunny,
Mhm.
Fleischer stuff. And so I would draw and I collected comic books.
Mhm.
And when I would see cartoons on TV, even though all the comic book artists were American or Western names,
Right.
John Buscema, Jack Kirby, that type of thing.
Mhm.
When I would watch cartoons, I'd see these strange names I couldn't pronounce,
Mhm.
right? Yamazaki and, Kurosawa and that type of thing. And I'm like, who are these people? Now, of course, I'm 7 or 8 years old, and I forgive myself for not knowing about Japan, but I didn't know.
Mhm.
So then my ears started to perk up when I hear things about like Japanese tourists, and I would see names very similar to what I saw in the cartoons, in the
Right.
credits of things like particularly the Transformers and those kind of cartoons.
Yeah.
I was so much into cartoons, just to talk about cartoons, there were things called cartoon video games, Laserdisc games back in the 80s.
Yeah.
So you play a game, and there was a video game based on the cartoon Castle Cagliostro,
Okay.
which is a Lupin Sansei or a Lupin cartoon, and it's one of the first Ghibli movies. And I played this thing, and then one day I'm coming home,
Mhm.
and I get home, and HBO is playing this cartoon, and the scene looked just like something out of Castle Cagliostro. It looked just like it, and I said, "Wait a minute! I've seen this animation style before," and what it was Nausicaa.
Okay.
And I waited to the end of the credits, and all these Japanese names. Now I knew it. Japanese names popped up, and I said, "I want to know more about this country." So then I started noticing a lot of the pop culture is from Japan that I was watching, and so I said, one day if I get the chance, I'd like to see this country. Met a couple of exchange students, ironically, who came to West Virginia and Virginia to study. So I knew one or two. They didn't speak good English. I didn't speak good Japanese, but I knew them, ran track together or something. And so I said, well, these people seem, they're now human. They're now people I know. And so I thought one day I'll do it. So when I got to college, I had to study a foreign language. And I said, well, I'm going to study Japanese. You had to study for 1 year. So I studied Japanese. Immediately realized it was the hardest thing I'd ever done in my life to that time. Wanted to quit personally. I couldn't. And my teacher said, hey, if you study for 2 years, you get the, Harvard College will give you the credit or the right to study abroad. And I said, well, I can go overseas. Now, you're from Pittsburgh. I'm from West Virginia. I never thought I'd ever go anywhere outside of my home state or out of the country. And when they said Japan, the country boy in me was like, I can go see the big city of Tokyo type of thing.
Gotcha.
And so I studied hard. And, my junior year, I came to Japan as an exchange student.
Okay, if I could stop you for a second.
No worries.
Because I'd like to get into the education.
Oh, yeah.
Part of your journey.
Okay.
But the reason why I'm starting with the what connected you to Japan is because I think traveling, right? Traveling away from home is really connected to yourself or your sense of self.
Yes.
And like who you are.
Right.
Or who you want to be, maybe. And you mentioned Ghibli, right?
Oh, yes.
And my connection or my exposure to Japan was very limited as well when I was growing up. But when I was in junior high, I was watching TV and I watched cartoons and stuff. And
we all did.
But they were playing. Yeah, I'm not shy about it. They were playing Miyazaki's Princess Mononoke.
Oh, I remember when that one came out. Yeah, I was in Japan at that time.
It's Mononoke Hime in Japanese. And I was like, this is something, a lot of his movies they're great.
Yes.
But they're more they're focused on kind of children, or I think they're accessible
to kids
and very young people. But that film was kind of like made for adults. I think made for everyone. Yeah. And I think adults could resonate with that very much.
Right.
And I was probably 14 when I saw that, 13 or 14. So this is kind of like your coming of age kind of.
Yeah. And she looked like Nausicaa to me in my head. I remember seeing that cartoon.
I never saw anything like it. And I was really moved by that. And I think that was like how I was like, Japan is different. This is where I want to get with this. Japan was different. Yeah,
you're right. You know what's funny? I tried to rush through it because of time, but when I saw Nausicaa as well, the story was touching. I mean, I was crying at the end of it. It was. I said, "Wow, this is really." I hadn't actually. It's funny. American cartoons didn't affect me emotionally like that. So Japan was different. Yeah, it had a
not even
sensibility.
X-Men?
Not even X-Men, man. Yeah, I mean, it was just, the comic books made me cry, perhaps, not the cartoons.
Okay.
Japanese cartoons had a way of making you feel real deep emotion that lasted a lifetime, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Very true.
Gotcha. So moving on, going more into the kind of career and education thing. So also we share a similar connection because my first Japanese friend was made in university.
Oh, right.
So this is kind of, the gateway. And then we became very good friends. And
where'd you go to school?
I went to Pitt.
Oh, Pitt. Okay, yeah.
So, right. And you eventually went to Harvard.
I went to Harvard eventually.
So Pittsburgh and I wouldn't say Pittsburgh and Boston they're kind of similar, but you have a lot of universities.
Yes, a lot of colleges.
There's you have Carnegie Mellon, which is right next to University of Pittsburgh, and there's a lot of other private universities. So it's kind of a little bit of a it is a university.
It's a college town, as we said. Yeah,
it's a college town. So, so going back to your studies and everything, can you tell me more about what got you, what landed you in Japan?
Okay, well, going back to the art thing, right? When you read a lot of comic books or you're reading a lot of stories, you read a lot of books, there's a theme, especially in books that say teenage boys read, and that is about the hero's journey, right? Leaving home and going somewhere. Yeah. So for me, I thought it was, I guess unconsciously, it was natural that as a young man, you would leave your home and go have adventures and come back, whether it's the Odyssey or whether it's X-Men or whatever it is. So when I got to college, I said, okay, I'm away from home now. I'm going to study something. I'm going to study something that'll help me have that hero's journey. And so I wanted to study linguistics. Not that I'm a language person, but I said I want to meet lots of people all around the world, go out. I mean, I was really into, again, stories, hero's journey. I studied Latin, so
Yep.
I need all
I
these
hear
stories,
you.
right? You know what I mean?
Yep.
So I want to say linguistics, but the way linguistics was the program at the time, you might study one foreign language, but you study the basics of language. And I just wanted to. I'm a young man. Not impulsive, but not impatient, I guess you'd say. So I wanted to learn lots of languages now, right? We didn't have Rosetta Stone at the time. So East Asian studies, because I was studying Japanese. And so I found out that East Asian studies would allow me to study maybe 2 or even 3 foreign languages, all Asian languages, but still nonetheless foreign languages. So that got me started in studying East Asian culture. So I studied Japanese, I studied Korean, I studied Mandarin, and of course the history of those countries, China and Korea and Japan. And that's how sort of my education. So I got even more interested. And as I started to learn more about we studied like Confucianism and everything and in Taoism. And I just said, I want to go see this country. It was it became, by the time the 2 years was up, I said, I'm ready to go.
Confucianism or the Confucianism would help you a
Confucian
lot.
humanism is what the class was. Yeah. It helps a lot in
But
dealing
that would
with
be
Japan.
very applicable to success in Japan. But
Yeah.
we can get to that later.
Yeah, sure. It does. It's very key. It's very key. I don't really, actually, it's funny we're talking about this because I never thought about it because, I've had a career here for 30 years. I lead lots of different teams and I never thought about how much that learning played a part, but it definitely did. Wow. That's an epiphany I just had just now. Thanks, Jeremy.
Don't mention it.
Don't worry. Oh man. Thank you. Oh, you lunch.
Okay. Now, in your career,
Yes.
so we're talking about, your education and your interest in everything like that.
Right.
Now, why are you here as a business professional?
Okay. So I'll say the joke first. The reason I'm here, they don't let me leave. Like I came to Japan as a professional. I graduated in college in 96. So I'd been here for a year before, a year and a half, from 94 to 95. 96, I graduate. I'm thinking to myself, as a young person would, I have my whole life planned out. I know how this is going to happen. I'm going to spend 2 years in Japan, then I'm going to go to business school, and I'm going to start a business and do amazing things. But after about 2 years here, I had my first job. I was an IT programmer. I was a system engineer. My second job, I was working for an American company that hired me. First company was Japanese. And they hired me. And though they were based in the US, they wanted me to work fully in Japan because I spoke Japanese and I spoke some Mandarin. And then every other company, when I would say, well, I am American, I would like to, work abroad. I think I have good human relationship skills that are transferable. They're like, no, you know the Japan thing. Stay in Japan. So that went 5, 10. After about 15 years, I gave up trying to go overseas. And so, but during that time, over the last 30 years, my job has changed. Right now, I'm not a system engineer. You know this. I'm a global head of HR for Own Days, the glasses company, the eyewear company. And so, I've changed jobs a lot, maybe 7 or 8 times, maybe in my career, maybe more. And the reality of it is, I think what's made that feasible is that understanding of some of the like people say on the surface, you don't change jobs in Japan. It's harmony. It's this. On the surface, it is. But underneath, there's various principles. There's the Confucianism going on. There's the sense of purpose. There's the sense of structure, risk aversion, a whole bunch of things at play that create this surface Japan that we see. And understanding that underpinning part sort of has helped me sort of build my career, even though I wasn't aware of it at the time. It was helping me a great deal.
Okay. So systems engineer to HR professional.
Yep.
For most of your professional
so half
career.
And half. So literally 16 years ago, I became an HR person.
Right.
And before that, it was all IT or project management.
Okay. So it sounds like the HR stuff is more fulfilling to you.
Yeah, I mean,
is that yeah?
Not really.
Okay.
I mean, not really. Not the HR stuff. The stuff is like, it's like system engineering or like even art. You're building something. And then I think the HR part that is interesting is that when you're building something on your own as a system, you're building something, you create it, you give it to the world, and it it takes shape and people use it. And that's great. When it comes to HR, you're help build like I don't want to sound nerd technical, but human capital management systems, operating models around people.
Right.
And all of a sudden, you're building something that everyone's collaborating with or is providing more value to more people. And that's rewarding, right? So it's all about that creative process and creating something that, of course, is great for the economy, but it's also great when you see people who are feel like they're close to fulfilling their own personal values or their vision. And so that's the exciting part that's fulfilling. I wouldn't necessarily call it HR. I'd call it like giving purpose and building things for people rather than building them for a
Would
company.
you say people or talent management, or would you say it's something deeper than that?
It's deeper. I mean, we can use the term talent management, but like talent development. It's sort of like purpose development in a way, because what you're trying to do is a company has its own purpose, right? Usually a lot of times. And people are working in the company for money, money or they're working for prestige or whatever it happens to be. They're working. And so you're trying to help them find a sense of purpose in something that's not their own a lot of times. And so you're helping develop them. So it is talent management, talent development, but there's also sort of the professional, personal development of the human being itself. And when that happens, when someone can see, okay, through this company, I can fulfill X, it's a wonderful thing. And then it gets even better. Like at my level, what I try to do is try to at least. I'm not always successful. But what you want to do is also help the company transform itself based on the people in it. So when people start saying, oh, through this company, I can achieve goals. Oh, by the way, I can help shape this company that I'm in. You give people a sense of confidence. And then it gets a little different. I mean, I do a lot of volunteer work and I work with the government on various things. And then once people feel, wait, I can transform my company by, providing insight or being able to communicate better or being able to collaborate better, then they start changing their society. And so you have this way of, that's the really rewarding part, is you help people realize I have power in their lives. Yeah,
They have
that's
power to change the organization,
change themselves,
which
change the
maybe
organization.
they didn't think that they had.
They didn't. A
before.
lot of people don't think they can, because they've run into a lot of roadblocks in life, real ones. And so sometimes people give up, and I don't blame them for it. I understand. I've done it myself as well.
Well, it can be a big challenge.
Very much so, yeah.
So you have worked for both big companies,
Big, small,
medium
Japanese,
size,
foreign.
I think, as well, but also startup.
Yes.
So can you elaborate on your experience in each of those models?
Okay.
And tell us which is your favorite or which is the most challenging. Yeah. Or can you just give us some insight?
So work. So let me give a little context to the startups. So I first came to Japan. I worked at a Japanese company called Mitani.
Okay.
Wrote a book on this, just sharing my story about 25 years ago when I first joined, after I left the company. And it was started 100 years ago by the family Mitani. Mr. Mitani and his son was the president when I was there. So that was sort of a Japanese mid-sized 500 employee company that was a startup at one point in time. So it's that company. Then I worked for like Network Associates or McAfee antivirus companies, and those were startups, a lot of US-based startups. Then large banks like AXA, ING. There's another one in there too, I know. But AIG. I worked for them as well. And then I started working for Philip Morris, and I worked for Payday, which is a Japanese unicorn. Just left an AI company called Autify, which is a great company. And then, of course, Owndays. So my favorite, I think, if I were to say it, it's sort of like startups, or sort of my deep down my love. Not because they're smaller, but because I remember I mentioned before about having influence. When you're in a startup, it's smaller. You have more influence on where the company's going, at least theoretically you do. Where the company is going. You can help define the vision. You're like creating something that is more your own. That's really motivating. It's very easy to be motivated when that's happening. Larger companies are more difficult. There's more moving parts. They're more complicated. The motivation sort of has to come more from inside, which takes a certain level of self-discipline and self-knowledge that, when I was younger, I didn't have. Now I don't mind working for a large company.
Willpower too. Probably.
Lots of willpower. And you also have to, so, you know, personally, I favor startups, but startups have their own level of like, challenges that sometimes you don't want. If I can go on and explain what some of those are, some of those are a startup is usually run by a founder. The founder has a very strong vision, and sometimes they can hold on to it too long or hold on to it too tightly, and so it's not as collaborative as you may think. I'm not saying this about any particular company I've worked for, but I've seen this a lot because I work with a lot of startups. You work with people, and in the startup world, you deal with other startups as well. You see that a lot. Those are challenges you face. Money, startups don't have as much capital, so and it's you're building your market, so there's a lot more rocky road. While you work for a larger company, it's a little more stable. There's places to hide. I'll give you an example. I was working at ING, and I was in charge of a project, and my team was this Japanese team, and we were building the operations for this new business that ING wanted to do called Medical Direct. And we had a team. I was managing sort of like the operations team. So we found people within the business to join this new team. So I had to convince Japanese people to do something new and different, right? These people who had been working for years in the company, join my new team. There's no guarantee we'll be successful, but come on board. I was very thankful that I was able to convince them to do that. And then we had another half of the business working on the marketing and stuff like that. And when that project didn't succeed, for various reasons, I was able to find, I still find work, meaning in the company. I started working as like chief of staff and doing project management for other divisions and things throughout the business. A large company, you can do that. But if I'm working at a startup, we have one product and one goal and, very, very, very tight constraints. And if we fail, then your job is gone and you have to find another job. So there's trade-offs.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about bigger organizations
Hmm.
and alignment,
Yes.
when I use the word alignment, because it's
Hmm.
also it's important to our business, like
Right.
the moving business as well, because a lot of different logistics
A lot of
things
pieces
have
are
to
moving
be
at the same time. Yes.
aligned. But you would think that at a bigger organization,
Hmm.
like the alignment thing is going to be difficult,
Hmm.
maybe even impossible, and sometimes it usually is.
Yeah.
But with the startup, though, I think alignment in the beginning is even more important
Yeah.
because that determines the direction
Hmm.
that the whole business is going to go.
Right.
And everybody has their own dream, right?
Hmm.
And you're kind of like playing with people's dreams pretty
Right.
much, right?
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
there can be a bit of conflict, I guess, in the
Well,
beginning
startups
of
not as
interest.
much as
Okay.
not in the very beginning because
Yeah.
lots of people come, they join, there's usually the charisma of the founder, and they want to support them, and they can sort of see their personal goals being achieved through the vision of this founder. So it's a really much closer team. And then it happens with every startup I've ever worked with or heard of or worked for. It gets to a point where, especially if the founder hasn't really run a large organization, or the founders haven't, who could be the C level, haven't, it gets to a point to where, as you said before, that natural affinity, that natural synergy needs to become structured synergy because people are coming from all over. Some people are coming because they just want a job, and different types of people are getting on board. And you have to somehow take this natural charisma you have and create it, make it corporate and make it documented and make it sustainable.
Hmm.
And if you don't have experience doing that, companies run into severe, it's like a human being, growing pains, severe growing pains. Like people don't, you can say one thing as a CEO or founder of a startup, and you'll send your engineering team thinking, I don't want to work here anymore. Or your sales team will say, I don't like the direction it's going, because that simple informal communication doesn't work enough anymore. You have to understand your team. You have to understand different ways of thinking. You have to find new ways of communicating and building strategy. It gets
Right.
really hard as a company gets to about, I think, 100 people. Once you get over 100 people, it takes a different skill set to take the business to the next
Right.
level.
Have you ever worked on purely a project basis, kind
Me,
of, right? Where the company was having a project to implement
mhm,
and they had to hire staff
for that
to
project.
fulfill that project,
Well, I mean, not
right?
not not forced. Yeah, I mean, yeah,
Because
I mean,
then
yeah.
if things aren't aligned,
Hmm.
the entire success of that project
Yes.
could be put into
Well,
a
let's
precarious situation, right?
Well,
So,
that's the example I mentioned to you about Medical Direct. That's exactly what happened.
ah,
So I'll explain. It's been 20, how many years? 2006. So it's been 20 years. So I guess I could talk about it. So the project was to start, like at the time, you didn't have automated, would say underwriting for insurance. Like there were people involved and they're looking at data. And so, but because of the, you know, technological progress, this could be automated. Parts of this underwriting, you know, risk underwriting could be automated. And so you could reduce cost by having people apply for insurance online, getting approved online, doing credit card transactions. It's very normal now, but it wasn't back in 2005.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the point. They were going to start this medical direct business. Now, that was the business goal, but underneath that, you had the operations or the COO, the CIO at the time, also wanted to implement new technology for the entire business, a new sort of IT architecture. So you had that agenda. The business agenda, and these agendas just didn't click because to start a business, you don't need cutting edge technology. You just need people and some basic things, you know, a screen or whatever. You don't need like advanced technology to start a business, because people start businesses all the time that don't involve technology, and technology improves over time, right? Facebook's gotten better, well, quote unquote better, you know, technology's gotten better over time, so to speak, right? You don't need to be perfect in the beginning, is what I'm trying to say. But the agendas were, we want to be perfect before we launch, while the business is like, we just want to launch the business. And then there's other agendas, and there wasn't that alignment. And I learned that pretty early. This is 2005. This is 10 years into my career. I said, wow, when people have their various agendas and they use, you know, excuse to say, well, this is the most important agenda. No, my agenda is the most important. It just tears things apart. I see it. I saw it a lot, and it really helped me as a project manager, as a leader, going forward. And I can't allow that to happen whenever I'm doing a project or I'm helping an executive, right? Working for a company. I want to make sure that they can build that alignment, because not having that, we think we wasted millions of dollars on technology that never wound up working, at least not while I was there. And I was there from 2005 to 2013.
Yeah.
And that business never started.
Mm-hmm. Well, focusing on the theme of alignment.
Alignment, yes. Let's talk about alignment.
Can we talk about Japan and business in Japan?
Oh, yes.
And, okay, a lot of people
the importance of
throw out the word Japan is different. Yes, of course it is. But a lot of places are different, you know.
Yeah, of course they are.
But can you give me some concrete examples of what is difficult, or what you experience to be difficult doing business in Japan? Because you mentioned, you know, harmony is so
risk
important
aversion,
here,
things like that,
and risk aversion is another interesting thing that I would like to talk about, because you just mentioned, I don't know how much business in Japan was involved in what you just mentioned about the loss of
the medical direct thing
of the millions of dollars.
That was in Japan. That was in Japan only.
Perhaps there was some cultural friction as well.
Oh yes, there was cultural friction. Yeah, there's a lot of cultural friction. So I just want to do a plug. I wrote a book on this about 3 years ago called Reading the Air, right? Which we know in Japanese, kukiyomu, right? Sort of explaining to expats, particularly who I used to work with and I worked for a lot, and helping them sort of understand quickly what is going over their head so they can apply concrete examples. So let me give you some concrete examples about alignment and things. So first of all, it comes to definitions. Like when you're dealing with another human being, like you and I, right? We talk to each other. We say, okay, you're from Pittsburgh, I'm from West Virginia. We can start to extrapolate. Okay, what terms do we use that are the same? Like, do you use soda or pop when you're growing up? Pop, right? Yeah. Exactly. We said pop as well. Other people would say soda, right? I'm like, or soda pop. Right? So we can say soda pop, right? So we start to, because we sort of understand each other, we can say, okay, what terms do we know? What do we have in common? And we speak the same sort of language, English, right?
I don't know if you use the word yins.
Yins. No, we don't use the word yins.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Like in the South, we use, like, if you're going to, we say finna, for instance. Like a finna, I'm finna do something. So we have different terms, right? So it's very similar to Japan. Like there's words that have meanings we think are the same. So I'll give you an example, concrete example. So risk, the term risk. Now, for me, risk is always in my mind when I'm dealing with some new project in Japan. This is where the miscommunication happens. I will think well, not me, but let's say the average person who's not Japanese will think risk means, okay, I'm going to go with a client, and I've read Henry's book, and this client's worried about risk. So that means they're worried about losing money, or they're worried about this failing. So let me help them understand how great this project's going to be and there's no risk. I'm like, well, actually, that's not necessarily how you define risk, right? Risk in Japan can also mean loss of face. Risk can mean the risk of feeling uncertain, feeling unsure, feeling confused. There's different types of risk. So a lot of times they'll explain something from end to end. This is a great project because it's going to make us a lot of money and people do this. And I say, I've defined it all, but it's not working in Japan. I said, are you addressing the real risk in the minds of your people? You're assuming you know. But to be honest, if you are a startup, and startups, Japanese and foreign startups experience this. So let me use an example for startups. You're looking for talented people. And you go to a college or whatever, you say, you find these talented people, they're young, they're excited. You think, hey, they'll want to come to a startup to do something and own things, but they're worried about going to a startup. The startup founder will think, well, maybe it's risk. Maybe they're worried we're going to go under. So we'll let them know we have lots of money, lots of funding, we're okay. That's not what it's about. It's about going to your family and saying, I'm working for this company you don't know. Right. A lot of these technical, these engineers want to work for a big company. It's a sense of pride. It's pride. I worked so hard. Now I'm working for the biggest company in the world. That's a type of risk that you're up against when you're trying to do something. For instance, so it's different definitions. Or, yeah, that's just one example.
If a company isn't established well in Japan,
yes, isn't established
it basically doesn't exist in some,
yes.
in some minds, right?
Yes, exactly. And you say, okay, well, I'll try to find a young person or any person who's open to taking that risk. And the reality is you might find someone who is great at taking that risk, but not necessarily great at building bridges with your Japanese clients or client base, right? Because if you found someone who's different, they're different for a reason. It's not mean that they're bad, but you have to be mindful. And so rather than trying to find someone who agrees with you, it's best to find someone who doesn't agree with you, but you understand each other. You can start to learn how to speak their language, and that's where diversity really makes a difference, is that I come in as a Westerner. I need to find a really traditional Japanese person, get them, help them get me, and then we can work together from some common principle.
On the same page or
on the same page. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So you've worked for a lot of different companies in Japan.
Yes.
Now, has it been the challenges of doing business here, culturally, that has made you decide to move on? Or was it more about the next kind of challenge thing?
Oh, it was usually about the next kind of challenge.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't. I mean, I guess I like suffering, to be honest. I do. I like the challenge of like studying hard or going through something hard because, again, all those stories, right? All those Greek and African heroes and who went through extreme pressure, but they came out better. Some of them died, yes, but a lot of them died. A lot of them died eventually, right?
And pretty bad deaths. Some of them didn't die,
but they were cool. But they were epic. They were epic. Yeah, they were epic deaths. But yeah, right. But what I'm getting at it is that there's a certain principle of like good things come through hard work. Right, come through hard work and challenging yourself, overcoming oneself.
Right on.
Right, you know what I mean. Yeah. So the reality is, I left my first company. I left simply because I wanted to get married, and a Japanese company, especially a traditional Japanese company, pays you nothing. And I had student loans. The yen was very, very weak, not as weak as it is now, but it was weak. And so I needed to make a decision that would allow me to make more money. It was simple as that. The first time. And then I left for different reasons, like just greater opportunity. The company was bigger. I could get more, I could learn more. I could take another challenge. I always thought very highly of myself, sometimes too highly. And I would take a challenge I wasn't ready for. Like my first management role was at a company called Schindler. First team management role here in Japan. And I wasn't ready for it. And that's great because I learned I wasn't ready and I learned a lot of things. But it was about the new challenge. Like I became an HR person at ING. And then AIG came and said, hey, you want to be HR business partner, not for at ING, there were 1,300 employees. I was pretty much business partner for half of them, about half of that, a little less than half. Well, at AIG, there were 20, 30,000 people in Asia, and I'd be the HR business partner covering half of that. I mean, I was like, wow, this is a great opportunity. And same thing with Owndays. I looked at Owndays and, I still have a very good relationship with the Audify executive team. They're great people. They are. But the opportunity to be the global head of HR for a company of 2,000 people that's trying to grow globally, started in Japan, you know, why not? Right.
Yeah.
So that's what it's been about. And when I coach people about their career, sometimes people are like, I'm upset, I'm unhappy, I'm going to change companies. I said, well, do you know why you're unhappy? What's causing you the pain? Because if it's usually internal, to be honest, something else other than the job. If you don't know what that is, you're going to experience it again in the next job. And I've done that
Gotcha.
too as well from time to time. I've changed roles thinking, there was a part of like a dissatisfaction with the existing role. And I realized it's not the company, it's me. Yeah. Sorry.
Okay. So
Being psychological in here all of a
getting
sudden.
back, okay, getting back to you,
Yes.
can we focus on how you
Particularly, yeah.
have built your life here in
Mhm.
Japan? And
Right.
okay, so you and I are both, well, let's talk about immigrants,
You are
right?
immigrants.
And I
Yes.
like to use the word immigrant.
Hmm.
It's not a sexy word,
Right.
but I don't really like to use the word expat so much
Right.
because, it's its own bubble kind of thing,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And then you can also say foreigner, but that's even worse because,
Yeah.
since we've been here for so long,
Right. Are we
we
really
don't
foreign?
feel like we at
Foreigners?
the same time we do, but
Right.
we also don't.
Right.
So anyway, so we're immigrants, right?
Yeah.
But we're not. Well, actually, you are
I mean, I'm a
Japanese now.
Japanese
You're
citizen now.
Japanese now,
Yes. Yes. I am a Japanese.
right?
Yoroshiku
Yoroshiku onegaishimasu. But you know what I'm getting at
Of
is
course.
it's not easy for us to connect to
Hmm.
society here sometimes.
Yeah.
And
When we
when we
get
were
to,
talking about this the other day, we can get into this. We still got time.
we got time. Good.
Um,
Okay.
it's kind of important to have stabilizing things and to
Hmm.
have a good community and
Oh
to have
yes.
good friends to
Yes.
make sure that you're not you're too isolated, right?
Or you
You're
get
kind of
cynical.
you're in your own bubble. You
Yes.
could be in your own bubble is the worst thing.
Hmm.
You could be in the expat bubble, that's fine. You can
Right.
be in the
Hmm.
immigrant community, we got stuff going for us bubble,
Yeah.
that's even better. Or you
Hmm.
could even be into something else.
Yeah.
So what's your story?
Coping mechanism and
Yes, exactly.
okay.
Yeah.
So I could go on forever. So let me try to
Got
summarize
about
this one.
10
10
minutes.
minutes, right? Okay, so here we go, bro.
Yeah.
My coping mechanism is primarily I create like social groups. That's what I'll do. I'll find some like-minded people. I've done things such as like cigar smoking circles. I had a cigar group called Tokyo Cigar Society for about 10 years. I still have
Okay.
it, but I don't smoke cigars as much. So
Okay.
you just find
That's good.
like-minded people. I know, right? Very healthy. Now that I don't do it, but I also started Black Professionals Tokyo. I have a group of like grown men. We meet every now and then just to talk. I don't post on social media. We're there to help one another, not to promote anything. Um, and then, my wife's from Jamaica.
Mhm.
So we'll have parties in our home, inviting people. We'll feed them all 100 people or so. We know how difficult it can be and how isolating life can be. So Christmas, you don't have anyone come to our house. Thanksgiving, you don't have anyone come to our house.
Mhm.
The summer we'll have a summer party. Just come, and
Mhm.
some people come. And they understand what we're about. We're about just providing some peace and some acceptance in a world that just doesn't accept a lot of people. And we have lots of different people. Our neighborhood they attend as well. So I cope by creating that, and that comes from realizing when I grew up in West Virginia, 4% maybe of the population is Black.
Mhm.
So my parents, like the reason I wear the cowboy hat is my father's family's from Alabama and in the South, and some of them were cowboys and that type of thing.
Mhm.
And my mother's side was sharecroppers, and so I was very much aware of the Black struggle, the history of African Americans in America. But you're in West Virginia. West Virginia is a great state. I love it to death, but you're a minority, and people aren't used to you. Sometimes,
Mhm.
you felt different. Nothing really terrible happened, but sometimes the kids would just say, why is your skin dark? Why are your hands? The same things you hear in Japan, the same things.
Mhm.
And I was able to figure out that, they just don't know. Most people aren't trying to treat you badly. They're not mean. Most people aren't evil. They're just misinformed. And when you're a kid, and kids are a little ignorant, you talk, you may have He-Man toys, you're playing together. Somehow you overcome that. And when I would find friends and kids who were like-minded, and some of them looked like me, some of them didn't. And I started to realize, wow, it's not about race, it's not about gender. I think if we can somehow figure out a way to find something in common with one another, we can build some sort of understanding and relationship. And I bring that to Japan.
Right. It's about commonality, right? Or
It's about our common humanity, man. And finding
kind
sometimes
of universalism or something
well,
like
it is.
that.
I mean, the thing is, we're all humans, man. And sometimes there's an issue, whether it's how we were raised or some trauma in our life that creates a wall between people that shouldn't be there. Like maybe when I was young, like I'll give you a perfect example of this, and how we all as humans can overcome it. So I came to Japan. I don't have any community. I'm living with a host family. My host father is kind to me, but kind of weird. He would say weird, not really racist, but kind of insensitive things to me, right? He would just say them from time to time. And one day, he spoke really no English, but one day he sort of comes to me and says, he points to himself, goes, "Me, dumb man, dumb man." I was like, "What do you mean, Dad?" And he's like, "Look." And he told me the story in Japanese. He goes, "When I first went to the States," and he'd only been to the States a couple times in his life, he went like when he was in his 20s, early 20s, and his host, they were in California, his host was an American white man, and said, they saw a black man on the street, said, "Blacks are only good for crime and jazz." And my host father stuck in his head. So in his mind, blacks were criminals. And the ones that played music or Eddie Murphy on TV were just exceptions to the rule. So he goes, "That's what I thought. I didn't want you in my home." When I saw the picture, I was like, "I don't want this person in my home." But my host mother and my host sister and my host brother told him, "That's unacceptable. He's coming into my home." And he goes, "And now you're my son." He goes, "I love you." And he said this to me in Japanese. And then I was like, okay. And I was a little put off by it. I said, because you're raised to sort of think people are racist and racists are bad and people are this and they're bad. But this man, even though in his heart he may have held some very racist thoughts, he treated me with respect. He was trying in his best way to love me. So let's fast forward 10 years, almost 10 years. He died in 2002. We had spent a lot of good times together. But I spoke to him about a week before he died. He was in the hospital. He had pancreatic cancer. I called him during the World Cup, when the World Cup was in Japan. It was in Japan. I called him because Japan was playing Turkey to get into the top 16 or top 8 or something. And I called him, and he was in the hospital, and he gets on the phone, and he's in a room with other men in the hospital watching the game. And he's like, "Everyone, my son's on the phone." And he's like, "Thank you for calling me." And he's crying. He's so happy I called him. That's my father. When I wrote my first book, I dedicated to my parents, both in Japan and out of Japan, because that taught me that someone can be raised to hate my guts. But if somehow we can find a commonality, maybe we can overcome that. It's not always true, but that sits with me. So when I'm dealing with, like, sometimes Japan or the government or the news can make me feel like I'm othered, I'm like, no, I'm not going to let that tell me this. That's not the way it is. I know that if I try, I have a faith, I guess you'd say, that I know if I try, I can get more than the world's telling me I can get out of this situation. So that's how I overcome it. And I have a family and a community that, and my wife particularly, I got to give her all the credit. She's like, "Don't give up." Somebody don't want to give up and go, "Oh, this country." And she's like, "No, you know better." And I said, "I do.
Yeah.
I do."
Yeah.
So that kind of support I have. And I think everyone should have that kind of support, And that's what I try to do through my, philanthropic work and volunteer work. And my job is HR.
Talking about the word faith.
Yes.
Okay. Because I think that was a good word to use.
It is.
What do you think about the future of Japan? I should put it more like, because you're a Japanese citizen now.
Yes, I am.
So I would imagine that you're probably going to stay here for...
So hopefully I'll stay here for the rest of my life.
For a while.
Till they get sick of me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then you don't want them to get sick of you.
I don't want them to, but
so,
I can't control that. But yeah, I know.
Yeah. This is not supposed to be... I don't want to talk about too much politics or
That's
anything
okay.
like
that.
Yeah,
I don't mind.
But there are a lot of concerns about the future of Japan, both economically and politically as well.
Politically and demographically.
Before we end today, I'd like to hear what you think is going to happen, maybe.
Right. Okay.
In the next couple of years, or maybe you're just a day by day kind of person. Which
no, I plan for the future, man. I plan for the future.
But it would be hard not to ask you.
Right.
What
Of course.
Think. Yeah,
of course. So, again, I studied Japanese and Chinese history and Korean history from prehistory to now, right? I didn't have a PhD or anything, but I studied it a lot. his interest to me. So Japan has been a country that has at some point kicked out all of its foreigners for good reason, perhaps, at that time. So looking at the history of what's happening in the history of Japan post-World War II, pre-World War II, I'm not really alarmed or worried about what's going to happen to foreigners in Japan or what's going to happen to the Japanese culture. It will survive. It always has. It will have its moments of highs, and very low lows. However, those societies are built by people contributing to the society, not giving up, right? Like you could say, you think about the civil rights movement in America, people could have just given up, said, I'm going to another country, or I'm just going to give up and not march. I'm give up and I'm not going to put my money where my faith is, that type of thing. But you can't give up. And I think if all of us, like I'm a citizen, I vote, I support local politicians, I engage with them, I talk to them, even if I disagree with them, I can do what I can do. So I don't have as much, I'm not nervous or scared too much because I do my best. And we all know if you do your best, and if you fail, at least you did your best, right? But let's talk specifically about Japan. So Japan is going to provide opportunities for Japanese. It's going to provide opportunity for its economy to grow, for the people who are voting to feel like I have a better world. So I think that if all of us contribute, don't see Japanese people, if we're immigrants, see Japanese people as some potential specter, but as our partners, right? As human beings who are on this planet together, we're going to touch them. You're going to touch these people, and these people are going to say, they're part of our future. Like I contribute, and my wife's business, NPO, teaches children, and we support our communities. And so when moments come and say, okay, are foreigners useful to Japan? Well, in their lives, right? Like I know my family, my host family, if he was still alive, no politician in the world could tell him foreigners are bad or this country shouldn't have them. He's my father. He loves me. He wouldn't do this. I mean, it's possible, I guess, but probably not. So we want to go out and make that difference. Yeah. And I think if we continue to do that, we'll be fine. I think that, the LDP was in power from 1945, 46 for the most part through till now, except for the period within the 90s or whatnot. And the world didn't come to an end. They didn't kick out all foreigners in the 80s because of the economy. So, the worst could happen, but history hasn't shown that something weird like that's going to happen. But if it does, I'll spend every day doing my best to change and impact people's lives. So perhaps they'll make a better decision when it comes to fiscal decisions, where the government invests its money, how we treat foreigners, how we treat immigrants, how we treat women, all that.
What you're saying is it's better to just do the right thing no matter what the situation, even if it's challenging.
Just don't give up, because we want to think that, okay, well, things aren't going my way and the world's only going to be happy if things go my way. And we know that's not true. We know we've had so many failures in life where things didn't go our way that taught us there was a better way, right? Mm-hmm. So sometimes when things aren't going your way, the voting, the politics, the trends aren't going your way, you think, okay, this isn't working. I said, well, maybe it is. Maybe these people who are voting for like Sanseito or whatever it is, they're kind of like, they feel a little isolated. I don't think they're all racist by any means,
right?
But they could be. Who knows? I don't know. But I know that if you go out there and you make a difference in someone's life, people will always remember how you made them feel. Not necessarily what you said or what you did, but how you made them feel. Yeah. So you want to go out there and make people feel empowered. And you want them to feel that you're contributing to that, right? And if we sit in our own bubble saying, well, I want Japan to be comfortable for foreigners. I want to be comfortable for immigrants. What about comfortable for not just Japanese, but people you don't even know? For people with disabilities, right? For the blind, for children, think about other people, contribute to their lives. These people vote. These people have impact on their own like social circles. You can have a big, big impact on the world around you if you just don't give up, really. And so that's, I maybe sound too optimistic, but it's led to where I am today, and hopefully it'll take me place in the future.
No, you touched on a lot of good notes. And
if you want to come to Japan and travel, so to put a picture, don't give up.
Come
to Japan. It's great.
Yeah, that's I put my bit
in
later.
Okay, cool, awesome.
So, thank you so much, Henry.
No, brother, man. It's always great to talk to you.
Awesome to talk to you. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Take care.
Thank you.